Y'all have a fictional dream job? Man would be Jonathan Joestar's anger translator. Sup y'all, welcome to channel Zarobski Cristal here, fresh off of the November Mirror retrospection introspection, my first solo show. It'll run till the 30th. Now speaking of which, Bruja del Sol was supposed to be made for that exhibit but didn't finish in time. I can consign or withdraw at any given time, but I think I'll keep her in my artist's collection. As always, mute me if you want or don't add music, up to you. Let's get to the specs. Bruja del Sol is a 9-inch by 12-inch art piece of acrylic and foil leaf on a heavily gessoed canvas, and I mean heavy. Layers so thick that it has indents and ridges from where the brush swiped, but that was intentional. Intentional indents. Side note, whether oil or acrylic, the thicker the gesso, the faster the drying. When the gesso dried, the background was washed with very thin cream acrylic alternated with white. I had to back and forth it because it was either too light or too dark before I settled on the pigmentation. Now we've got opposing techniques here. Some paint applied so thick and so little water it's like impasto. Almost impasto, and watered down acrylics to the point it resembles watercolor. For those who don't know, impasto is this technique where really thick globs of paint are applied, often with a palette knife or for palette knife paintings. I used my silicone tip nail art tools from the Born Pretty store because the area is relatively small. If I did total impasto with oil paints, I'd be about as broke as I'd be if I used real gold leaf. So I cheesed it a bit with the smoke and succulents. I used primer, white paint, and avoided water to make him look pulpy, then painted over the base. For the painting and coloring proper, the smoke needed minimal water, but the succulents had to be blended. Part of the finishing touches is washing the succulents with thinned out acrylics. Watercolor consistency to give them depth and color. Meanwhile, the braid needed no primer. No water while being painted though. Back in college, I'd use a glue gun, then paint over the glue once it hardened on the canvas. When I was painting her skin, I had to redo her tattoos and scars. Birthmarks, actually. I'd already painted their bases before her skin, but acrylics are so opaque I had to do it all over again, then add metallic paint later. For the birthmarks, I used Scars and JoJo for references, Speedwagons, Dios, Abdols, etc. This is definitely one of the more process-driven pieces aside from the usual content-focused ones. I love foil leafing, but the process can be tedious depending. And do not get the adhesive on you, it's pretty much snot. Took about 2 to 3 leafings to get this coverage. Looks great and glittery on camera. The day I decided to pause Bruja del Sol was the morning of the ingress. I was rushing so hard, I basically said fuck it and stopped filming altogether in the rush, and I was so goddamn tired by then. I was working on the braids, wasn't even halfway done, and I was so desperate to finish, too tired to care. Oh my god, I was so exhausted. Then I took a step back. This was already like the morning of the ingress, maybe a little before sunrise. Everything that needed to be framed was already framed and labeled. I couldn't take it anymore. I could drop dead at any moment. Then I lifted the canvas before me and saw how lovely she already was. I was very happy with her eyes, her hair, the succulents. If I rush, it could get ruined. That would tear me apart, and I was already ripping at the seams. Mentally, physically tired beyond all reason. So screw it. It wasn't included in the show. And I wasn't able to pick up a brush until maybe a day or so after opening night. And that wasn't the first time I had to pause Bruja del Sol either. The first time I had to put progress on hold because I had to finish self-sabotage first because everything needed to be framed. When the opening night was through, I felt this hangover, for lack of a better term. Like I was happy I sold, happy I made my family proud, happy that I got to taste sinigang risotto after the longest time. So why was there this emotional aftershock of numbness? I don't want to call it depression because I have no qualification to say that, but Anyway, I felt the need to continue working like I'm still on this muse induced high. I feel worthless when I'm not working, especially since I'm currently not earning unless I sell paintings or stuff on my Redbubble, or till I'm eligible for AdSense or somebody buys me a coffee on coffee. I'm not good at much else and feel I'll never be fit to teach. So I went back to painting, making vectors, writing poetry, and I finished Bruja del Sol. And I'm a finish and I'm gonna publish these speed paints. I'm gonna get some vectors done and probably clean the house and get more videos out. So, who is the Bruja in Bruja del Sol? In a shellnut, she's my original character, my Jojo Sona. She's a reincarnating retainer to House Joestar. In the painting, she's Katrina Salonga, who's about 12 years older than Joseph and Caesar, the only one to actively maintain the Sendo traditions in the family, and like Joseph, has both hamon and a stand. Her stand Madonna manifests as tattoos and claw-like nail caps that target a person's chakra points. It's a long story. I'll link it below, but I haven't edited her bio in ages, so look if you dare. Hence the breath and succulents. Usually, Hamon users are associated with sunflowers, which were also Caesar Zeppelin's favorite flower, but Katrina has a preference for succulents who flourish under arid sunlight. Her previous life was Catherine Winehouse. Young man Jonathan saved her from drowning and on his 18th pledged 5 lifetimes to stand by his and his family's side. The ritual involved bloodletting, hence the scar-like birthmark on her left palm. Catherine was killed by Wang Chan on the boat by fatally wounding her by cutting her torso diagonally. Now there's this rumor floating in the ether that one's birthmark might have been how you died in your past life. I used that myth here, hence why Katrina has those scratch-like birthmarks on her chest. What's not shown in the portrait is the birthmark running down her torso diagonally. What's not shown either are the more thorny vine, purple hermit-esque patterns of her stand tattoos. For both JoJo, Caesar, and the Stardust Crusaders, she had this big sister-ish cousin auntie role, Tita of Egypt maybe, basically generalized Ate Roland vibes. She was killed by Dio in the final firefight and reincarnated into Veronica Schuyler. That's a total of 3 lives before Pucci reset the world. Coincidentally, before this, I did draw Catherine outside of her reference sheet. It was this quickie portrait to test some watercolors. The portrait, Your Sister Who's Always by Your Side, was made with ink and watercolors. Katrina's picture, Bruja del Sol, is of acrylic and foil leaf. I've been mulling what to do with Veronica to complete the trio. Graphite or charcoal with colored pencils, maybe. And you think we're good here, support this channel and my art on Coffee or cop that Redbubble merch. Channel Zarovsky specific stuff is on my Black Phoenix brand collection, which was recently updated. Stalk me on Twitter, Facebook, DeviantArt. Become a Crystallite, subscribe to get crystallized, and ciao for now.